Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at the 1994 and 1995 Select baseball sets. When Score Pinnacle created Select in 1993, they didn't quite know what they were going to do with it, as evidenced by when you look at the main series and then the Rookie and Traded set. They're designed in pretty much the same way, but the way that they approached the two sets was pretty different. They were evolving it as they were going because they realized very quickly they had to keep up with SP and with Flair. And so what exactly Select was going to be was kind of a moving target. And they would never fully get down the set as a brand for all three sports. Hockey barely used it. Football had it in 1993, 1994, and then in 1996. Although Select Certified certainly did have its own life, but in baseball, Select was able to make a pretty good run. But again, Pinnacle had to figure out exactly just what Select was going to be. And so by 1994, they were, everything about 1994 was different for Score Pinnacle. And with Select, they needed this to be a card that was a little bit more than Pinnacle. That's kind of the way it was. Pinnacle was the standard brand, and then they needed for Select to be slightly better. At least that's the way they designed it. The 94 card is a horizontal card. It has a near square shot of a player, and then it has a gold foil band with text for the player punched through that. And then over on the side, they have a monochromatic picture that sits over on the side. So it's basically two bands and a box. It's kind of the way the card is designed. But I have to note, it's actually kind of a nice card. It will never stand out in a display case. It's not a card that's going to grab your attention. But when you take the time to look at it, it's actually a good design. So they created a card that succeeded at being good enough. It was a card that really needed to be carried by its inserts because, they didn't even have parallels for Select in 1994, which is saying a lot considering that Score and Pinnacle both had that. Now, the Rookies are very different. These are cards that don't look like they almost don't look like they fit in the set. They do have a little bit of a similar spirit to them, but basically the Rookie cards are a design that it's very bold. It has a tear mark in the middle of it. It has a full color, although hazy background above and then monochromatic at the bottom. It's what they did for the design, and yeah. Now, they didn't do any subsets. They kept it stripped down, but they did have checklists. And the checklists are, interestingly, NL and AL. This is something that Pinnacle liked to do, where the set is scattered throughout. So the players are just jumbled up. And they did these checklists where they would have a checklist only featuring the AL players and then another only the NL. So it's a skip number checklist for whatever reason, I don't know. But the checklists in 1994 are one player featured on the front and another player on the back. But it's pretty benign. I haven't figured out who the players are yet. It is the same. So every single Series 1 checklist, even though they have different colors, they still have the same picture on the front and a different picture on the back. Series 2 has a whole different pair of players. Again, every checklist is a different color, but they all use the same images in Series 2. So one pair of players in Series 1, another pair of players in Series 2. And that is the set. They didn't do anything else. That is, they did do some SP cards and some inserts. Now, the SP cards are pretty tough to come by. They are 1 in 360 packs. Or there are 2 SP cards with each series, so it's 1 out of every 5 boxes is the rate that these come at. So they're pretty tough to come by. The first SP card is a card honoring Carlos Delgado, Rookie of the Year. And this is Dufex at its most powerful. It is an incredible display of just what Dufex can do. It has the satin finish. It has super bright colors, which makes it very energetic and dynamic. But it also has a very subtle pattern within it that is really cool. Just the way that the little dots kind of spur out or in whichever direction that you happen to be rotating it is such a great card. The whole quality of this card is amazing and makes you wish that they did a whole insert set like this, which was pretty rare to see out of Select. The second one that they did is, look, you got Rookie of the Year, why not MVP? And the MVP was Paul Molitor. Now this card is a mess. They got a bunch of things that they're kind of playing around with. They do have a Dufex band in the card, which looks more like a lenticular effect that we would see often on not just lenticular cards, but lenticular technology. Love to use those little bubbles. They did that here with Dufex, which is actually pretty impressive. They also, though, did 2 salute cards. They did a card saluting Cal Ripken Jr. and another one of Dave Winfield. These cards are satin finished Dufex. It's wonderful, but the cards are treated almost like an insert set, SS1 and SS2. So they come kind of like a pair, but they are thought of as standalone SP cards. So those are the SP cards that they had, and as you can see, with 4 of them, that's quite a lot. But they did have 3 insert sets, and the first insert set is Crown Contenders. And Crown Contenders is a very simple card, horizontal in orientation. It is a holofoil card where the whole effect is, well, the holofoil. The background's not very impressive to this. It's not really important because the whole thing is the shininess of the holofoil, which if you're into, great. If you're not into it, well, it's a lot of holofoil. Then they have a set called Rookie Surge. Now this is a card set which is also Dufex, but here they really were playing around with it, trying to work with the 3D effect that you can actually pull off with Dufex, which is, in this case, it looks kind of like a magic eye. That's the way it comes across. But it's playing a trick that you normally would see with lenticular cards, and Dufex has a similar enough quality that you actually do get a pretty cool 3D effect on these cards. The cards are a lot. I mean, they are a Mardi Gras fest for sure, but the effect is really quite cool. The last insert set they did was called Select Skills, and this goes back to where the card is a big holofoil card. In this case, at least they have a sky background, so the backdrop behind the player looks better, although it looks like he's pasted onto it. It's not very natural, but still, if you're into a holofoil card, this is another holofoil card. So with 1994, they kind of started to settle into what Select would be, and it was a pretty good model. It was a model that they would be able to use moving down the road. So in 1995, instead of rinsing and repeating, they took it and they evolved it in a wonderful way. The card is still horizontal. They have a little bit more room for the picture of the player because over on the side they have a trapezoidal marble block in team color. And then within that, they have another trapezoid for the portrait of the player with gold foil around the card to really bring it out. But it's the richness of the colors, the saturated colors for the team on that box that really makes these cards look really impressive and very much fit with the mid-1990s. They also have the team logo in gold foil, which is, it's pretty interesting. So the card is looking a lot better, at least on the front. I don't want to talk about the back, but the front does look really good. But they finally started to do parallels here in 1995. Now, to be fair, over in hockey in 94, 95, they had started to do parallels with what would be, it would be spun off as Select Certified. But over here in baseball, we got the first artist proof parallel, and in this case, they just replaced all of the gold foil with a gold holofoil, which is such a rich look, especially with the saturated colors on this card. And then there's text that says artist proof in holofoil or in rainbow or gold holofoil down on the card as well, and this is for the entire card set. So the way that the cards were designed is a really good template, but they were able to play a trick with it because they didn't need to have the portrait, because for players who changed teams, they instead used a portrait for the action shot, which freed up space in the box in order to put gold foil explaining about their traded, the date that they were traded and the teams that they shifted from. So these cards actually do look very different, which is, these are probably the best traded cards that I've seen. They're definitely up there. They look really good. Now, the rookies in this set are, well, these are very different because here they went with a full bleed image with just a gold foil band. And the team logo is in the gold foil band, but they don't do anything else other than that gold band for these players. I mean, they have the sun finial up at the top, but all of the text for the card is lightly punched into the gold foil, so it's really difficult to read the front of these cards. You really got to read the back of them in order to read it. But in 1995, they did their first subset card for Select. And this card was called Showtime. And the backdrop behind the player is not a photo, which is unusual for Select. Instead, it is curtains for a stage. And then down at the bottom, the Showtime text is done like a corner marquee for a theater. So it is a subset. That's what they did. Their checklists, however, now have players featured on the front. So these are true collectible checklists. On the back, they are still AL and NL, which is, again, not sure why they did it. But at least with the fronts of these cards, now you're able to get excited about collecting a checklist as additional cards for your pursuit of players. And they only did one series for 1995 because, like I said, they were shifting over. Now Select Certified was taking over, so that meant that they didn't need to have a second set. They did, however, have one SP card that was not released in packs. It was released to dealers, which was a rookie card of Hideo Nomo. Now, Hideo Nomo was the big star of this year who was coming across the Pacific, which was kind of kicking off a whole trend of players coming over from Asia over to the US to play baseball. Hideo Nomo, big name. So this card, it's an add-on card, but it was distributed out to individual dealers and card shops as opposed to in packs. Otherwise, they didn't do any other SP cards. And incidentally, that Hideo Nomo card, there's nothing special about it. It's not very valuable, so it's easy to come by. Now, they did do 3 insert sets here with this set. The first of which is Big Sticks. Now, Big Sticks is obviously home run hitters. Big names in this set, as you would expect. The card is another holofoil card, so the surface has that. But here, at least in the background, it's interesting. They have a big logo for the player's team right in the middle, and then they have kind of a model design for the background, which is, it's a lot, but this card does look really good because the holofoil doesn't overpower the card, which allows the whole background to read, especially the logo, which is the key to making this card look really good. They also had an insert set called Can't Miss, which is looking at young rookies and prospects that are starting to make a name for themselves. This is Dufex. And here, the Dufex is very strong, where they have a black to red to black fade for the background. And then they have kind of a squiggly line Dufex effect over that. And then, of course, the player's Dufex, so the whole thing comes to life. But what's really impressive is the third insert set, which is called Sure Shots. And these cards are very tough to come by. They're 1 out of every 3 boxes pretty much. And these look at draft pick players, rookies that are just getting into the pros. And this card really shows off just how great Dufex can be. It is an impressive card. They have a band on one side where the text for Sure Shots shows up, and they have a baseball in the name. And then behind that is like the sun is blocked by that band. And so you see the radial pattern coming out. That's the effect that they have for the Dufex on this card, which is just fantastic. But again, for a card that's very difficult to come by. So this is an impressive insert set. But that's it. Since they only did one series for 1995, as they were now getting more inserts, they didn't have more releases. So both 94 and 95 are kind of stripped down overall. Now, by 1996, we would be seeing them kind of stretch their legs a little bit more and Select to be getting to be more adventurous. But here in 1995, they sat down and they did just a straightforward affair that was very straightforward in terms of following the tradition of 93 and 94. So I'm going to be looking at the 96, 97 sets separate in another video coming up down the road. If you haven't seen the 1993 Select video, I've already done that, so you can go check that out on my channel. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I do urge you to do so. And be sure to like the video, and yeah, thank you very much for watching.